Michael Dorf is a modern-day impresario with a passion for food, wine, and music. He thought this would be a golden combination for a new business concept called City Winery, which he opened in 2008. An expensive operation to run, his new restaurant/concert venue/winery was highly dependent on the idea that deep-pocketed New Yorkers would be interested in owning their own barrel of wine.
So the original wine side of the business was predicated on selling barrels of wine to really wealthy bankers. And I had pre-sold about 150 barrels, gotten people to sign up. To make a barrel, it was gonna be about $12,000, and you'd get your 250 bottles, private labeled.
He was wrong.
So our first grapes arrived the same week Lehman Brothers imploded. And all of a sudden it was financial Armageddon. None of the people who had signed up to have this luxury product of their own barrel of wine wanted to be showing off.
Suddenly, 1/3 of his slam dunk business idea was dead in the water. And he had all his money tied up into those barrels waiting to be sold to customers who were frankly just not interested.
I was a little bit of a freak out. 300 barrels at $12,000 a barrel, you can do the math of what we were expecting to come in. And the wine started to show, and I said to the winemaker, we gotta start selling this. And he's French and a great winemaker and a real artist and business person. And he goes, but Michael, the TTB, we need to get the approval, you can't just... I was like, we gotta sell this.
Michael was desperate. He needed to do something to bring in revenue. And so he suggested the unthinkable: tap the barrels. Skip the whole step of putting wine into bottles and serve it right from the barrel in the restaurant. His winemaker, David Lecomte, was horrified.
And he's like, oh, you stupid American, you can't put gas in a barrel, it'll blow up. And I'm like, we gotta sell this wine now. It's cash flow.
David soon came around to the idea. After all, it was more environmentally friendly, and the wine would always be fresh.
For me, as a winemaker, it makes sense. We were at the avant-garde.
It turns out the new plan was better than the original one.
We started putting it in stainless steel beer kegs and started tapping wine. And in the beginning, it started to work. When we put it behind barrel heads and really dressed it up, all of a sudden it started to fly. It became a home run. Our wine by the glass became 70% of our wine sales, and we were, wow, the margins are way better than selling it by the barrel to bankers. Let's sell it by the glass to our patrons at a much better margin.
City Winery was actually way ahead of the curve. The authenticity of the place, with its steel fermenting tanks and oak barrels with your favorite Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Noir just a few feet away, made it so much more than your typical wine bar. And that dovetailed perfectly with their other offering, music.
Musically, what's happening is very exciting. 10 years ago, artists would still go on tour as a way to sell records. Today, no one's making any money selling records. The only real money is in the live performance, and to have an intimate experience with an artist becomes very precious.
Wesley Stace, otherwise known as John Wesley Harding, has had a long music career. But his sold-out Cabinet of Wonders cabaret show at City Winery is one of his favorite gigs.
I think we're up to our 92nd show. Their whole idea of a comfortable evening out with good wine and good food is a good deal too. The way our show is run here is tribute to the fact that there's a certain kind of thing that is perfect for this place.
Don't blink, because in an instant, City Winery has one more trick up its sleeve. This well-oiled machine quickly transforms, sometimes running 3 or 4 simultaneous special events in just one evening. David says the profitability of the business is like a table. Each department is a leg: wine, music, food, and events. And they all need to work in harmony for the business to balance.
If one of these 3 legs is not, performing well, it doesn't stand too long, and it's falling. He cannot only be good in one thing. He needs to be good in at least 3 or 4 to make sure then the beast is going and growing.
With the concept fully fleshed out in New York, they've managed to successfully duplicate the formula, opening City Winery locations in Chicago, Nashville, and Atlanta, with just one painful hiccup.
Our biggest mistake as a company so far has been Napa. We opened in Napa for a year and a half. We got handed the most beautiful opera house. My son at the time who said, you know, Dad, doesn't a city winery require a city? And oh, you're right. You know, we put a lot of money into this project, and Napa's a small market. We weren't unique the way we were in New York or Chicago or a big city.
With this important lesson learned, City Winery is making the leap, with new venues opening in Boston, Washington, and more planned internationally.
I want to see how far this can go. We're going from 750 employees this year to 1,000 by the end of the year. That's full and part-time. I'm excited by that growth. It took 9 years to get from 0 to 50 million in revenues. We're going to go from 50 to 100 million in the next 2 to 3 years. It's really exciting to me, and I love the process of building.